Who killed Davey Moore? Why and what's the reason for? Not I, said the referee. Don't point your finger at me. I could have stopped it in the 8th and kept him from his tragic fate, but the crowd would have booed, I'm sure, not getting their money's worth. It's too bad he had to go, but there was pressure on me too, you know. It wasn't me that made him fall, you can't blame me at all. Who killed Davey Moore? Why and what's the reason for? Not us, said the angry crowd, whose voices filled the arena loud. It's too bad he died that night, but we just like to see a good fight.
Yo, what's going on, America and the rest of the world? Xander J. Hobson here, comedian, director, and producer of boxing documentaries, and troll to those who need trolling. This is another episode of The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. Folks, listen, I'm trying to grow this here platform, so please subscribe, like this video, share it, and by all means, leave a comment in the comment section because I enjoy checking out the feedback from these videos that I make, as well as exchanging opinions and points of views with you all.
Who killed Davey Moore? Why and what's the reason for? Not us, said the angry crowd, whose voices filled the arena loud. It's too bad he died that night, but we just like to see a good fight. We just like to see some sweat. There ain't nothing wrong in that.
A lot of guys get into boxing because they want to be like their hero. For example, Sugar Ray Leonard. He wanted to be like Sugar Ray Robinson. And Leonard liked Robinson so much, he adopted Robinson's name. Sugar Shane Mosley, he felt that way about Sugar Ray Leonard. A lot of fighters adopt the name of their heroes. Now, in this case, Davey Moore and Davey Moore, these guys never knew anything about each other. But nevertheless, they both had the same name. Davey S. Moore, born in 1933, and Davey Moore, born in 1959. These guys would never know one another because they were born 26 years apart. But nevertheless, these guys, their life would follow a similar path. Both of these Davey Moores, they would eventually end up becoming a world boxing champion. Davey S. Moore, the world featherweight champion, and Davey Moore, the world junior middleweight champion. Both of these guys would have excellent amateur careers. Davey S. Moore going to the 1952 Olympics, and Davey Moore, 4 times New York Golden Gloves champion. Davey Moore will go on to compete in the 1980 Olympic trials. Davey Moore being outpointed by future world champion Donald Curry. But nevertheless, both of these men will go on to leave their mark on boxing, contributing their blood, sweat, and tears, and eventually winning championships in their respective weight divisions.
Hello again, everyone. Tim Ryan here at Atlantic City at Bally's Park Place Hotel with Sugar Ray Leonard and Gil Clancy. We'll be describing the action involving a champion who feels he has not been recognized properly as a world champion, mainly because Davey Moore won the title in just his 9th professional bout. He has successfully defended it twice since that time, but he is just an 11-fight pro, and he wants the world to know he deserves to be the champion. Sugar Ray, let's talk about Davey Moore. Here is a young man with an outstanding amateur career, but a lot of people think that against an experienced pro like Gary Guyton, perhaps after just 11 pro fights, he's still too inexperienced.
But Tim, I don't see any problem. David and I had the same type of amateur background, over 100 fights, and in fact,
national and international competition, we put great fighters. Here, he's fighting a guy who's an experienced fighter, but I feel that Davey Moore has a type of ability which is natural. Good hand speed, good mobility. He has the tools that can defeat a great fighter like Guy.
So anyway, Davey Moore was the WBA junior middleweight champion between February 1982 and June 1983. And this guy, he had a meteoric rise to prominence. The man won the title in his 9th professional fight. At that time, only 2 other fighters that I knew of had won championships that early in their career. Leon Spinks winning the heavyweight championship with only 7 fights, defeating Muhammad Ali, and Boomsong Mansari winning the super lightweight championship with only 3 fights. So it was really impressive for a guy to win a world championship at such an early stage of his boxing career.
1980, after only 8 professional fights, 40 rounds of boxing, he got a shot at champion Tadashi Mihara in Tokyo. He's very enthusiastic and he's very loose here. Combination has 4 answers back. And before a hostile Japanese crowd, Moore shocked the boxing world by knocking out Mihara.
The main reason why boxers have always been my favorite athletes is because I've always had easy access to them. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and growing up in the 70s and 80s, you always had access to the boxers. You might be walking down the street and you look up, Muhammad Ali might come walking out of the supermarket. Same thing, Joe Frazier. A lot of big name boxers were always in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was the mecca of the boxing world back in the 70s and 80s. And all the great boxers came here to train. Roberto Duran, Aaron the Hawk Pryor, Carlos Monzon. I mean, you might see any one of a number of big name boxers that you saw on TV in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, when I was growing up, if you were in the movies or on TV, you were somebody. Everybody automatically assumed that you were rich and that you were famous. Why? Because you were on TV. I didn't have access to football players, baseball players, or basketball players because I wasn't in that environment. I can remember seeing Harold Carmichael. He was a nice enough guy, but he wasn't as approachable as the boxers that I ran into. It's the same thing with Charles Barkley. I've been seeing him for years at the gym up on City Ave, Ballard Kenwood, Pennsylvania. Nice enough guy, but he always seems to have the air of, hey, how you doing? But keep it moving before I throw your ass through a window. Again, that's perfectly okay with me. But at the end of the day, I've always found boxers to be the most approachable athletes. And I've never met a boxer who hasn't always had time for a fan. I can remember being at a place called Video Palace. It was on Chestnut Street. So as I go into Video Palace, I'm in there talking to the manager of the store, and he nudges my arm. And he says, do you know who that guy is right there? I turn around and look. And I see this guy standing there with this beautiful lady. And at that very moment, I didn't know. I said, no, who is he? He's like, that's Matthew Saad Muhammad. And I turned around and I looked at him. And I'm like, wow, that's the dude from TV. I literally just got finished watching him fight. And Saad was standing there smiling at me, holding the girl like this. And he winked at me and said, hey, what's up, young buck? And it was the same thing. I'm walking down Columbia Avenue, which is now Cecil B. Moore. And when I get to the intersection of 24th and Columbia, or Cecil B. Moore, whichever one you want to call it, standing on the corner, eating an orange, it's the white Braxton or the white Muhammad Qawi. And I noticed him because I looked and he's standing there like doing this little dip, got his Walkman in his ear, and he's eating an orange. But I remember how the bob and the weave looked because I just got finished watching this dude on HBO beating Matthew Saad Muhammad for the WBC light heavyweight title. And I'm looking at him as I come in, and he turned and he see me coming, and he just shot me this smile and this nod as if to say, yeah, it's me, young buck. It's me. I was on TV last week, but it ain't no thing, man, because guess what? I'm standing here on the corner, man, eating the orange, man, and talking to you. And it was just a wonder to bump into these guys that you seen on TV and for them to behave like regular dudes.
David, he was an angel. He was a kid, nice. Everybody loved him. Yeah, David, he was a happy kid. He always, and very polite, very humble. Everybody loved him. And I made a mistake. I spent my money, the rent money of the gym. I had to bring everybody from Catskill and everything. The gym was packed. So I figured that some people that would come to the party, they paid me the $5 to come to the door. No, they didn't. That was full of fighters and friends and everything. And on Monday, they now shall close my place because I owe the rent. But then I call, I rest in peace, Davey Moore. I call Leon Washington. Leon, I need a little money. I need a donation for my gym. So one day I saw the Bobby Mile with a Cadillac parking in front of my gym. And he went up there. David Moore said, yeah, Mr. Cuello, I pay the bill. Yeah. That's my boy.
A dream for many boxers is to fight in the cart, but as an amateur, Davey Moore grew up there. Compiling a 96-6 record with 4 New York Golden Gloves titles, Moore won a silver medal at the 1980 Olympic trials when he suffered a loss to current world champion Donald Curry. Turning professional, Moore quickly compiled an 8-0 record, and in February of 1982, in only his 9th pro bout, he stopped the WBA junior middleweight champion Tadashi Mahara in Tokyo to win the title. Davey's first title defense again was as an underdog against South Africa's Charlie Weir, and again he upset the odds makers with a 5th round knockout. The patented Davey Moore victory lap, a celebration he hopes to repeat today when he meets the veteran Ayub Kaluli, 40 wins and 41 fights, the former champion and #1 contender in the second defense of Moore's WBA junior middleweight title. You see the scene here at Bally's in Atlantic City. We're scheduled for 15 rounds. 7 straight wins, 7 straight knockouts. He's taking Ayub Kaluli, the former champion, now the #1 contender. Advantage. Round 1, scheduled for 15. That's Kaluli in the white, the left-hander. Davey Moore in the blue, the orthodox righty style. They'll use the 10-point must system. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. The referee, Luis Sulabaran from Venezuela, not involved in the scoring. Because of his early pounding of Kaluli, Moore's taking a lot of sting out of Kaluli's punches. He may be connecting, but he certainly isn't bringing anything behind those shots. And the right hand lead by Moore. So either way, slugging or boxing, Moore looks like he has the edge on the former champion. Final seconds, round 10. Kaluli's taking again. Left right combination by Moore. Moore backs up Kaluli with the right hand. Moore's got Kaluli in trouble. Kaluli not punching back. Here at ringside. ringside. We're showing him the last few seconds of the fight as you watch it as well. Davey, you had adversity as early as the third round because of the line you left off.
Yeah, we was working the third round, and for some reason, see, we both was infighting, and we butted heads. Unfortunately, I got my second cut of my career, that's all.
Now, you came out early, pounding him very heavily. We noted here at ringside there didn't seem to be much sting in his punches after the fourth or fifth round.
Right, I wanted to fight him like Sugar Ray did in Houston. He, like, wore him out. You know, he stayed in front of him, get him to the body, hit him to the head, and warm him out instead of moving around dancing and taking a lot of excess energy. I wanted to wear him out because I know he couldn't stay in the pace.
Now, I noticed in the eighth round, he started getting off first, and you were a little bit quiet in that round, but then you turned it around later in the round.
Well, by that eighth round, it was like a breather round because I'm going to pick it up in about 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to pick it up the last 7 rounds. I'm breathing for the eighth round too, man. That's all.
Are you going to buy some champagne for Artie Curley? It worked on that cut for you?
Artie Curley is the best cut man in the world. I'll buy him anything.
Now, Davey, despite the fact that you won the championship in February, successfully defended it in April, you have felt that you haven't gotten enough due from the public.
Well, yeah, people know I can fight. They know I'm a world championship material, but they don't think I can handle the pressure of being a world champion in only 10, 11 professional fights now. I think they can't think I can stand the pressure, not because of my fighting ability.
You're a very bright young man. You're in the midst of your college education, which I know you want to finish, but you say you may stay as a junior middle, you may go down to welter, you may go up to middle and fight Hagler. Now you want the big names.
Well, if the public demands that, and if I do, nature takes its course, and I do put on a little weight, sure, I like to take on anybody. I'm not scared of anybody.
Congratulations, Davey Moore, an American world champion.
Sensational.
Is that your middle name?
No, I just do it sensational. I just do it sensational.
All right, that's it from Atlantic City, a 10th round TKO for Davey Moore, who remains the WBA junior middleweight champion.
I'll never forget the first time I seen Davey Moore. I was in Atlantic City, New Jersey, hanging out with my buddy Paul James, guy who went around calling himself the film doctor because he sold boxers and their trainers and managers footage of other fighters so that they could prepare for a fight. And me and my buddy Paul, who I affectionately call Bubba, we was walking through the casino and we see this guy and his entourage strolling toward us. And I'm looking and I'm like, this dude right here looks familiar. And as I'm walking toward the guy, I'm a young dude, probably like about 14, 15, but I'm mean mugging this guy. And as I get close to him, the guy stops and he shoots me this $1 million smile. And he extends his hand. Hey, what's up, man? And I shake his hand, and that was it. We go our separate ways. After we get a few steps away from him, my buddy Bub says, yo, bro, you know who that was? Like, no, who was it? He was like, yo, man, that was Davey Moore. Davey Moore, the WBA World Junior Middleweight Champion, had just walked right up to me and shook my hand. And this is why I've always liked boxers, because they were always just regular old guys.
Who killed Davey Moore? Why? What's the reason for? Not me, said his manager, puffing on a big cigar. It's hard to say, it's hard to tell. I always thought that he was well. It's too bad for his wife and kids, he's dead. But if he was sick, he should have said it wasn't me that made him fall. You can't blame me at all. Who killed Davey Moore? Why? And what's the reason for? Not me, said the gambling man, with his ticket stub still in his hand.
The other Davey Moore, Davey S. Moore, he died 5 years before I was born. As a matter of fact, he died on March the 25th. I know the date because it is the day before my mother's birthday. But I learned a lot about Davey S. Moore because I used to go into the library after school and I used to sit there and I would read the boxing books, primarily the Bible of Boxing or the Ring Record Book. And the first time I happened upon Davey S. Moore, I was a bit confused because I thought I was looking at Davey Moore, who was born in 1959. So it confused me a little bit. But after I sat there and looked at it for a spell, I realized at that point that it was two Davey Moores. I went around the corner to the gym because the gym and the library were in close proximity to one another. And I started asking the older guys, the Smiley Haywards, the Quinzel McCalls, the Bill Halls, the Al Fennells. These guys were a wealth of history when it came to boxing. And these guys told me about the original Davey Moore. But what saddened me in learning about Davey Moore was that he died during his final championship fight against Sugar Ramos. Now, Sugar Ramos was a vicious guy. And I don't mean vicious like he was a mean, black-hearted person, but in that ring, he was really a tough fighter. So much so that two men died at his hands. And when I heard about how Davey Moore died at the hands of Sugar Ramos, it really threw me for a loop. Years later, Davey Moore, 1959, he would face Roberto Duran. And although he didn't die in that boxing ring, Duran beat him pretty bad, almost to death. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about Davey S. Moore, the featherweight champion, this guy was a hell of a fighter. He had 68 fights with 59 wins, more than 30 knockouts. Whereas Davey Moore, who was born in 1959, won his world championship in his ninth fight. Davey S. Moore had to wait 43 fights before he was able to win a world championship. He had 7 championship fights. Wait a minute, let me back up. He had 8 because in his 19th fight, he won the Ohio State Featherweight Championship. Wow. 19 fights to win the Ohio State Championship. And Davey Moore, the Bronx, New York, he won his championship in only his 9th professional fight. But when it's all said and done, both of these Davey Moores, they left their mark on boxing. They were very talented guys. Davey Moore, the featherweight, was more talented than Davey Moore, the junior middleweight. But Davey Moore, the junior middleweight, he came out of that gate like a bat out of hell, and he fought some very good fighters, winning the championship from the Japanese Tadashi Mihara. I think I'm saying that right. Defeating former junior middleweight champion Ayu Kaluli, and picking up a victory over 3 times world champion Wilfredo Benitez. These two Davey Moores having lived a parallel life. My name is Joe Alexander Hobson. I couldn't imagine another Joe Alexander Hobson doing the exact same thing that I did. I mean, the whole notion of it is uncanny. But again, you have Davey Moore, born in 1933, and Davey Moore, born in 1959. Both of these guys sharing the same name, sharing the same profession, hell, sharing the same race. And they both pretty much done the exact same thing. And the sad part about the story of the Davey Moores is both of these men, they died before they were 30 years old. That is the heart-wrenching part about it. Davey S. Moore, I only know this guy from reading about him. But Davey Moore, the Bronx, New Yorker, I know Davey Moore because I was a huge fan of his, and I can remember the day that he died. When I heard about it, I was saddened by it. I felt as though I lost an actual friend, even though he was a guy that I only met in passing. But at the end of the day, this video has been a tribute to both Davey Moores. Initially, I started out, I was just going to do a video on Davey Moore, the Bronx, New Yorker. But when you think about the fact that you had two Davey Moores that lived a parallel life, it wouldn't even be fair to do a video on one of them when you could do a video on both.
The mistake that they did, they put it with Roberto Duran so early. Yeah, it was not prepared for it.
This could be the end of Davey Moore. Why let this fight continue? He's a target.
I can't believe they killed him and this man come out in this condition. First of all, the express was a factor, and now he's handicapped. He can't really see.
He can't see. He can hardly walk.
This is the 8th round. Both the doctor and his corner allow him to come out the champion. Fighting desperately. The referee, Magana, not getting close enough here to see what kind of shape he's in.
Look at those combinations.
Duran continuing to pound away.
Tim, he could be seriously hurt. They had better stop this fight.
I cannot believe this referee, Ernesto Magana. I don't know what he's waiting for.
And what about the cornermen? Why don't they stop the fight?
Pounded into the ropes again. More fighting in just in desperation. Duran getting 3 shots. The crowd in the garden going wild. The referee, Magana,
He doesn't have a chance at all. I mean, this is the reason why they have referees to stop the fights like this.
Magana sounded like he said no pushing the door. I mean, that is just
Moore's not pushing him. He's falling. He's collapsing on Duran.
He's standing there on instincts alone.
He can't stand. If Duran faints and steps away, he'll fall on his face.
And he can't throw a punch either.
This man is just, he's not there.
This is disgraceful. I cannot understand or condone this referee's activities. And that four corners should stop the fight. He hasn't thrown a punch in the last 50 years.
The towel came into the ring.
They threw the towel in the ring. And the referee is still not stopped the fight.
Now, as I get ready to close out this video, I want to say this. Davey Moore was one of my favorite fighters, but he wasn't a great fighter. He was a good fighter. But I honestly don't think that he had a snowball's chance in hell against the great Roberto Duran. Actually, Davey had absolutely no business in there with Roberto Duran because Duran was too experienced for him. However, as I made this video, I went back and looked at that first round. And I have a bunch of stills that I want to allow you to look at because Davey Moore was doing very good in that first round. He lands some pretty good, solid shots against Roberto Duran. And Roberto Duran, being the cagey veteran that he was, he stepped back and thought about what he needed to do.
Charlie Lear, Ayub Kaluli, and Gary Geist. Duran thumbed Moore. Yes, he did. And Moore is bothered by it. His right eye. There's the bell. Well, let's take a look at the replay of that apparent thumbing. You can see by Moore's reaction and the expression on his face that he was definitely thumbed.
Now, in my opinion, I think Duran would have beat Davey Moore without thumbing him in the eye. But I'll tell you something. Thumbing him in his eye, it definitely didn't help. I don't like that Duran did that, but Duran is still one of my favorite fighters. He's an old school cagey guy, and Roberto Duran did what guys like Roberto Duran would do. And it is by any means necessary in what it takes to win. But at the end of the day, this video has been a tribute to Davey Moore, the Bronx, New Yorker, and Davey Moore from Springfield, Ohio. And with that said, folks, I'm done with it. BAM!
Who killed Davey Moore? Why? And what's the reason for? Not me, said the boxing writer, who pounds the print in his old typewriter, saying boxing ain't to blame, there's more danger in a football game, saying fist fighting is here to stay, it's just the American way. It wasn't me that made him fall, you can't blame me at all. Who killed Davey Moore? Why? And what's the reason for? Not me, said the man whose fists laid him low in a cloud of mist to come here from Cuba's door. Or boxing ain't allowed no more. I hit him, yes, it's true, but that's what I'm paid to do. Don't say murder, don't say kill, it was destiny, it was God's will. Who